Welcome to Colts Talk, presented by PRIZEPICKS. We're glad to have you guys on the show today. A lot to get into. Jonathan Taylor, should the Colts use him more or less in the upcoming season? Word from a coaching staff member is something we need to discuss. Daniel Jones gives us an injury update, very important for QB1 in the upcoming season. And we'll continue to keep you in the loop on Terrion Arnold as the Colts right now are connected to the corner who still going through legal trouble. So we'll talk about what the situation is there. I want to jump right into it with what running backs coach DeAndre Smith had to say about Jonathan Taylor and the usage for the Colts in the upcoming season. Talking about how much the Colts use their running back. We definitely need to find ways to take some of that workload off him. If I can find another guy or two that can take some of those carries off, he's just going to be that much better. Smith continues. So it's definitely been a constant conversation. I'm aware of it. When he's healthy, we've got a chance to win every game. So that's always the first thing I think about. Make sure he's available every week. A lot to discuss with that quote there from the running backs coach for the Colts. But first, I thought we'd bring some good juju and kind of get your opinion here. Help us out. If you think Jonathan Taylor will rush for 1,000 yards again in the upcoming season, here's what you're going to do. Prove it to us by hitting that thumbs up button and letting us know you believe JT can snag another 1,000 yards. What the running backs coach there, DeAndre Smith, is discussing essentially is the Colts have used Jonathan Taylor a ton in the past few years, both as a rushing and receiving option for this offense, specifically last year. Obviously, we know Daniel Jones goes down, so a lot of responsibility shifts to Jonathan Taylor. High usage. But as DeAndre Smith said, if you've got Jonathan Taylor on the field, you've got a chance to win. He has been very, very good. And the idea he kind of pitched in the quote there was hey, the Colts transition to a little more usage of another running back so that JT gets a little bit of a break. And then when he's on the field, he actually has a little more juice, right? Those carries and catches he hasn't been used as much, so he can give a little more. I like that in theory, right? Little less Jonathan Taylor, give him a boost when he is out there. Don't constantly rely on him. Pound the ball into the ground with him, taking from him. Sounds nice in theory. However, we've discussed a lot recently. ESPN said it. I've said it here on the show. I know a lot of you guys are talking about it with the trade rumors. Jonathan Taylor is the Colts' best player. So when you talk about what they're going to do on offense in the upcoming season, when you talk about winning games, trying to win the division, do you really want to see less of your best player? Is that really the way you want to go about this with Jonathan Taylor? I think that's a risky idea to think that you should go less with Jonathan Taylor in general. And I'll tell you this right now, this is a guy entering a contract year. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is looking to do less for the offense in this upcoming season. He was a Pro Bowler last year, and he's looking for $15, $16 million a year. I don't know that he thinks that it's going to help him to do less for this offense in general. Now, longevity of his career, absolutely. A little bit less and less of a pounding on the offense. That definitely could help Jonathan Taylor in general, but I don't expect him to look for less, whether it be catches, rushes, touchdowns, all of it. I think he wants more. He wants to get a bigger contract. He wants to get 3 more years, 4 more years. I would expect him to want to shine in this offense in general. Now, again, the idea for Smith there, he was kind of thinking about the idea that the Colts use some other options, right, to take the load off Jonathan Taylor in general. My big thing with that idea, with that theory for the Indianapolis Colts, that depends on your other options in general, right? Your backups, how you use them, what they can give you on the offense. And listen, I think that's really, really important to talk about. And I do want to get into the other options the Colts have at running back. But first, that brings us to our prize picks question of the day. Straight up, should the Colts use Jonathan Taylor more or less in the upcoming season? Is it try the plan where they use him a little less, give him a little more burst when he is out there? Or is it, hey, this is our best player, we need to use him more? Type N for more, type L for less. And while you guys are answering the question, I did want to show you a lineup I copied from our guy Jack here at Chat Sports. I'll be riding with this tonight in the home run derby. That's right, Junior Caminero. We're going more on 9.5 runs there for a guy that's been slugging the ball over the past few years. And then Kyle Schwarber. I'm looking for some Schwar bombs. We went more on longest home run, 473.5. We're going more on the distance with that one. And then Murakami from Chicago. More on 9.5 home runs for him as well. He's a fun guy to watch when you watch Chicago. So that'll be great to see tonight in the Derby. Plus, you guys know on PrizePicks, we have a new user offer for you. If you download the PrizePicks app today with the link in the comment section and description, then use code HMA. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Right now on PrizePicks, that's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. When you look there, again, that's code HMA that you're going to want to use on PrizePicks. Take advantage and get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. My answer to this question, it's definitely not less, right? You can't afford less Jonathan Taylor. Like we've talked about and like was kind of hit there by DeAndre Smith, they have a good running back. They're going to use that good running back to win games, and I don't think that means less. This is such a big deal for the Colts in general to get to the playoffs this season, for Jonathan Taylor to have a good year, Shane Steichen, Chris Ballard, a lot riding on this year. I don't think all of a sudden you want to go out there with less Jonathan Taylor in general. And again, this conversation leads me into what the running back room looks like outside of Jonathan Taylor. The backup as of right now is DJ Giddens. Your other backup, looking like Seth McGowan, has jolted forward into that number 3 spot. We really haven't seen much of Ulysses Bentley the fourth in general. So you look at those 3 guys, I mean, come on. I don't know any NFL team that has a running back 2. I'm sorry, that's this bad at this point in time. And look, we haven't seen a lot of DJ Giddens, so I'll give him his credit there. You just haven't seen a ton of him. He got the ball a little bit last season. Definitely still needs to progress at the NFL level, get better at the NFL level. And then again, what's McGowan going to give you as a late round draft pick in general? I'm not overly comfortable with the idea of Jonathan Taylor getting less carries because you want to get DJ Giddens and Seth McGowan involved. I don't like that. I have been extremely vocal with the Colts this offseason that they need another running back, right? And at times it was, hey, this is a higher priority, that's a higher priority, this guy, and I understood it as we went along. But here we are now getting ready for training camp. And again, we're talking about doing less with Jonathan Taylor so we can do more with DJ Giddens and do more with Seth McGowan. And I just don't think that's the way the Colts should go in general. So again, I expect Jonathan Taylor to have similar numbers. Hey, maybe more. You would like the idea that Daniel Jones plays the entire season for the Indianapolis Colts. That obviously would probably help take a little bit of the load off Jonathan Taylor. As again, I think when Phillip Rivers was in there, a lot of people for other teams knew what the Colts were going to try and do. But I expect more, if not the same amount, from Jonathan Taylor coming up this season. And speaking of Daniel Jones, we want to keep you up to date on QB1, how he's feeling, what he's saying, because the last time we heard from Daniel Jones, he was being held back from 11 on 11s, which was slightly concerning, but made sense at the time, right? Wasn't cause for any sort of panic button or anything like that. The Colts quarterback running a youth camp last week, and he was able to give us an update over the weekend. Here's what he said as he continues to heal from the Achilles injury and the broken fibula. I'm doing everything, cleared to do everything. I think it's just about, at this point, sharpening that, getting more explosive, getting stronger, and kind of improving on what you can do. But I can do everything and feel really good about it. I think there's almost like a joke in there where he just kept saying, I can do everything, I can do everything, I can do everything. I almost feel like that's him saying, I should have been able to do 11 on 11s. I wanted to do, because we read you the quote last time where he said he asked the Colts to do on 11 on 11s, and they went with no on that one. He did do 7 on 7. So again, it really has been all good news on the Daniel Jones, recovery front and health front and everything he's kind of gone through to get back from a broken fibula and the Achilles injury. He did have another interesting comment that I thought was something to kind of note and think about as we get closer to the season. Again, we're going to have training camp preseason, and then we're into it. Here on Colts Talk. Talked about his Achilles real quick, and this is more like the mental side of things, I think. It makes sense. He said, you're still thinking about the Achilles. I think he said you, but he meant himself, will probably will until you get to playing. So it's going to be a mental battle, right, to actually get back out there physically and do it again, right? Feeling like, hey, am I 100%? How am I feeling? Can I do it again? Could I get hurt again? Definitely all those things happening right now in Daniel Jones' mind. Next question for you guys here today on Colts Talk. If you answer, good chance to join the show. Get down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Will Daniel Jones start week 1 for the Indianapolis Colts? What do you think on that one? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. We'll have you guys get down in the comment section and answer this so you can be heard. Staying on Daniel Jones, and we've been recapping the ESPN top 10 lists lately with you guys. And again, it's not ESPN giving their opinion. They're hearing from scouts. They're hearing from executives. They're ranking different positions in the NFL. We got our quarterbacks list. Now, Daniel Jones, not in the top 10, not in the honorable mention. However, he did get votes, which I think is an interesting aspect of Daniel Jones and where he's at in his career. Because again, a little bit of respect from around the league when these guys get either the honorable mention or the votes to land on this top 10 list in general. And we talked Sauce, we talked Jonathan Taylor. Those were names we talked about in the top 10 rankings. We talked about Leatu Latu. That was another one. Look, you look at the top 10 list here from ESPN on these quarterbacks. I can't. I'm not trying to squeeze Daniel Jones in there anywhere. I'm just not. Okay, I think there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of consistency. That might be the biggest part of this list overall. So I'm not trying to funnel Daniel Jones and try and argue a Jared Goff, Daniel Jones situation. I think vote getting is probably the correct spot for Jones, who I have stated multiple times. If you take a look over the past few years, we've seen more good in Daniel Jones's career. We've seen more bad than good in Daniel Jones's career, right? We did get some good stuff last year in Indianapolis, but hurt once again. So it's going to be very important for both me and if he wants to be considered for any sort of top 15, top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, need more consistency, right? Need more years of good play, need more playoff appearances. All of those sort of things are going to be important for both myself, people around the league, Colts fans, right? You want multiple good years for Daniel Jones in a row to really feel like he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And yet still, I think it's a W for him to get some votes in this top 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL voting. I think that's quality there. I want to ask you guys, fill in the blank. Let's have a little fun with it. Fill in the blank. Daniel Jones is a top blank NFL quarterback. Top 20, top 15, top 10, top 5. Fill in the blank down below. And as promised, we are tracking the Colts and Terrion Arnold, the released cornerback formerly with the Detroit Lions. We learned last week that the Colts are one of the teams that have reached out and are interested in Terrion Arnold. And I wanted to note this report from Adam Schefter as we enter a new week. I'll have my guy Sean go back to that in just 1 second. We know that he did work out for the Houston Texans. That was an important thing here. And then Schefter notes here, thanks, Sean, scheduled to visit 2 more teams next week. He said that last week. So as we head into this week, we'll find out if the Colts were one of those teams and what type of real interest the Colts have. Because, obviously, if they are one of those teams, great. That's serious interest. If they're not one of those teams, that should tell us maybe they reached out, but they're not as hot there. The key with Terrion Arnold, the important thing here, look, don't want to make light of any situation. It's still just unbelievable to me that he's just out and about working out for NFL teams while facing robbery and kidnapping charges at this point in time. Look, teams are going to have interest. This is a former first-round pick. He was tasked with doing a lot on the Detroit Lions in man coverage, so a lot of teams are going to have interest here. And, of course, we'll keep you up to date here on Colts Talk.